Hi, good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Industry Chats with Affixify. I'm Jasmine Seliga, founder of Affixify. And this week is extremely special for us. I feel very humbled and honored to have Ira Vouk with us this week. And I feel that you need no introduction, but we will do an introduction because you are quite well known. In fact, for those watching, I laughed when I was putting, this episode together. My oldest son sat next to me, and he looked at Ira's picture and said, "She's famous, Mom." And I said, "She is famous." So I'm very grateful, Ira, that you joined us today. And I wanted, I can introduce you all day: speaker, author, consultant, but why don't you tell us a little bit about you, and then we can talk about hotel technology.
Of course, yeah. Like I said, my favorite topic. I can talk a lot about it, and I can write. I write a lot about it. I would say I have many identities, as you mentioned. I'm an author. I published books on hotel technology and revenue management. The latest one, Hotel Tech 101, is kicking butt right now. It's very popular, which makes my heart melt. I'm an educator at heart. I think I also teach hospitality technology at San Diego State University, an independent consultant. So mostly I've been involved in the last, I would say, 9 or 10 years in consulting lately around technology, but also with a lot of experience in the revenue management and marketing as well. And recently I joined the Room Angel Foundation, which is the name that you see on the screen, which is a new company. It's actually a foundation, a nonprofit organization that is planning and working hard on revolutionizing the distribution space. So I'm now deep into the distribution and connectivity and those things, and I'm very excited about the future that is ahead of us for the industry. And there's so many different innovative things that are happening, including AI adoption and those things that make me very excited. So I'm really happy to talk about it today, and thanks again for having me.
Yes, I love that. I think I laugh because you might be one of the few people that walk into high tech and feel exhilarated and not overwhelmed by all that there is
Yeah,
out
no
there.
kidding. Yeah. High
So
Tech
I
is an amazing show. Yeah, sorry, go
it
ahead.
no no it is. This will be my 10th one this year, and it's my favorite professional week of the year.
I have
So
not missed a single high tech show in 20 years since I actually came here. 18 or 20 years, something like that. Yeah,
oh my
I've been to every
goodness.
single one. I know I
Okay,
look young, but yeah,
you are so young. Okay, we didn't plan this, but do you remember your favorite, like your favorite location?
Mm. You know what? I don't really associate high tech with a location at all because I never really get out of the convention center. I think that's what happens. I just go like specifically for that and don't really look at the sites at all. I'm a geek. What can I say? But there is
I
so many
love
great opportunities for like networking at high tech, and you just like by the time you, especially with the party hopping. I don't know if you have ever done that or not. This is the best. And I know we're kind of getting off track a little bit, but if you guys have not done the high tech party hopping, my record is 6 parties at night.
Oh my gosh. You
Yeah.
you did it big. I don't think I've
Yeah.
hit that record.
They're sponsored by different tech vendors, so
Yeah.
if you get in, you have a lot of fun.
It is by far I think the best networking of the year.
Yeah.
And you always leave with like no voice and you're just, exhausted, but it's such a great week. So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, my 10 high techs definitely are not up to your 18 to 20, but I am excited this year for Indianapolis. And on that note, so we kind of let our guests here pick the topic. I don't think it's any surprise that Ira picked the hotel tech ecosystem. That's your absolute expertise. You just released a book, as you mentioned. We'll talk about that more at the end and include some links. But talk to me, like, very general question. What would you say is the state of hotel tech right now? Like,
Ooh,
what is the state of technology as
one
it
word,
stands?
a mess. A
Yeah.
mess. A mess. Well, yeah, no, that's a great question. I would say that, and the reason why I say it's a mess is because it's fragmented and it's convoluted. And those of you who have not yet seen the diagram that I put together, I highly recommend. It's on my link. That's on my website. It's on my LinkedIn page, kind of pinned in the featured section. And it went viral for the reason that it's actually easy to understand.
Yeah.
And I would say objectively, not just because it's mine, but I'd say it's the first one in the industry that is actually readable. Like you look at it and you're like, oh, I see. So people have like printed it out and put it on their walls in the offices. Like I've seen that happen. So that actually helps clean up a lot of things. But like behind it, there's so much, and that's why I had to write a book. The book actually revolves kind of around that diagram and fills in the gaps and explains what is what. But it is convoluted, and we can go deep into the reasons why that is happening. But the state is that, and we are trying to go towards more consolidation and simplification, and there is a trend towards that as well, with mergers and acquisitions, and um, different vendors offering end-to-end solutions and creeping into other categories rather than just offering one thing. And with property management system companies shrinking from 2000, which is like, really, this is our reality, there's about 2000 PMS companies out there, to like more narrow, a smaller number, because many of them just die because they become obsolete, and they're too small, and they don't have integrations, and they don't have marketplaces, and they're built on premise based technology. So that number is shrinking too. So it's becoming a little bit less messy, less convoluted, but it's still a fact. We have to, deal with it. And that's why you walk into high tech and you see all those vendors. If you don't have a framework in your head, it's hard to navigate. And that's the reality. And it's one of the reasons for low adoption of technology in our industry, because it's messy, and not everybody can afford hiring Ira to figure out the mess and tell them what the tech stack should be. So for an average hotelier that owns 1, 2, 3, 5 properties, it's hard to understand. And they're like, I don't even want to touch it like that. I'm just going to stick to my ancient PMS, and that's all I'm going to do. And
Yeah.
that's the reality.
They're like, if it checks in and checks out, we're pretty much good at this point, because it's so overwhelming.
Yeah.
I know, even, at Affixify, we're looking at implementing some of your graphic that went viral into our journey, with your permission, we've talked about, but it is very hard, even for those of us who have been in the tech space in this industry for a while, to wrap your mind around it. Do you have, like, in comparison to other industries, do you have a benchmark for, are we way messier than what you see in other
Yeah.
spaces? Is
Oh,
this
yeah.
common?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not common. And there are reasons for that. So the main reason, well, not the main, but part of the reason is, and you said, if it checks in and checks out, that's good. So most hoteliers still feel that's that way, but the reality is it's not really enough to just have a PMS anymore, right? You want to have an RMS, you want to have a CRM, you want to have a good marketing technology tool, you want to have an upsell tool, and there are vendors that do those things,
Yeah.
and they do just that. And there's so
Yeah.
many use cases in our industry, and that's why there's so many vendors. And because there are different stakeholders in our industry, there are different types of there are different segments, there are different types of businesses, there are different business models. So as a result of that, because the industry itself, the operator side, is fragmented, as a result of that, we have so many vendors that have been trying to cater to these different needs of these different, very, very different types of businesses and business models. That's why we have so many different vendors. And that's why it's so important to kind of organize this, because it's not just about vendors existing, but it's about vendors
Mhm.
talking to each other. And this is
Yes.
where your product is. I'm super excited about your company, Affixify, because it helps hoteliers kind of clean it up in terms of understanding who connects with who, because it's not straightforward. Like, you can't just pick a random PMS and say, I want this, and then I want that RMS, and I want this CRM, and I want this upsell tool. You cannot. And this is actually a project that I ask my students to do at the end of the semester. They pick a tech stack from scratch for an imaginary 100-room hotel, but they have to consider all the integration dependencies. And that's like, it's not rocket science, but it is somewhat science. Like, you have to actually like go and do research on every vendor's website, and you see who is integrating with whom. And now we have Affixify, and now we go, and students can just go and plug in their needs, and then at the end of the day, like at the result, you see essentially you see your tech stack. Like that's kind of the goal that we're trying to reach with in the industry, to have a tool that
Yeah.
would allow them, hoteliers, to
Yeah.
build their tech stack from scratch without hiring Ira. And I'll be happy when that day happens. Honestly, I don't need more work essentially, but we need that to be scalable and democratize
Mm-hmm.
tech stack
Mm.
and
Yeah.
take it away from the hands of individual experts and make it
Yeah.
doable for an average hotelier. And that will be a big day for our industry.
I think so. Well, and what you said so resonates with me and is like one of my passions is there is a science and there has research to be done. So although, and I always have to tread lightly with everything we do with Affixify. It's like, you got to
Yeah.
tread lightly, but great marketing budgets and awesome marketing from vendors. Although that's nice, at the end of the
Mhm.
day, if you don't have the connectivity, what that particular hotel is looking for, it
Absolutely.
doesn't matter. And we see so many hotels, unfortunately, falling into the bells and whistles they're seeing on LinkedIn and, at trade shows. But at the end of the day, it falls short because it's not meeting their specific needs.
Yeah.
And, every hotel has a little bit different needs, as you well know. And so I think what you're saying is like so resonating with me about it's much more than great marketing and, top 10 lists when you Google best PMS, right?
Yeah. It's all about integrations. And I realized that long time ago, and I wish everybody did. It used to be how, a hotel would pick their tech stack if they had flexibility. So we're not talking about branded hotels who are forced to pick, the
Yeah.
dinosaurs from our tech ecosystem. But if you actually have a choice, you used to just go and, find a PMS that you like and you adopt
Yeah.
it. It's the
Yeah.
opposite right now. You don't start with the PMS. You start
Yeah.
with the use cases of how you run your business, and then you
Mm,
find a PMS that can support these integrations. So
right.
if you want to have a really, a seamless check-in experience and self-check-in process and, door locks that connect with your phone, if that's really important for your business, then that's you look for a vendor that does that well. And
Right.
then you look for the PMS that actually supports that, plus supports the integrations with all other different elements of the tech ecosystem that you're trying to build. So
Mm-hmm.
it's reversed. Like PMS is not really the center of the world anymore. So, and
Yeah.
that's why what we are seeing is we're shrinking from 2,000 PMSs to top, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 eventually,
Yeah.
where the top ones are going to be the ones that survive, are going to be the ones that actually have a lot of integrations in the marketplace,
Yeah.
where essentially the user, the hotelier, can just go in the marketplace and pick from all of different types of categories, from all of different use cases, pick vendors that they want to hook up. They click,
Yeah.
just like on your app platform on your phone. If you're an Android person like me, that's the Play Store, or if you're an OS person like most people, that's whatever you guys call that platform. So the marketplace, like on your phone, you don't need a 6 to 9 month cycle to install a Facebook app, right? But this is the reality of our industry. Facebook app is more complex than any technology solution in our industry, to be honest. So the goal is to get there where you just click and install or click and log in instead of
Yes.
from the marketplace. And again, that's why it's becoming more slowly but surely becoming more consolidated and less convoluted place in the PMS world,
Yes.
because not everybody can support marketplaces. Many don't even have APIs.
Yeah. I mean, it's just brilliant what you're saying. And when you talk about it that way, I'm like, yeah, it takes me 2 seconds, not only to install, but then to update your apps. You know what I mean? Getting an update, getting the newest features takes all of 30 seconds or less.
Yeah.
And we're
Automatically,
in,
like you as a user, you wouldn't even know that it's updated. It happens behind the
yeah.
scenes, and that's how modern software should work.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you find like, let's say those that do have the money, right, to hire an Ira, although yes, I know the end goal is like, you don't have as much work, but do you find when you come into these situations with hoteliers that this is the biggest challenge is navigating integrations and tech stack, or what would you say? And it may not just be one, but in your experience, what is like the number one challenge if you're a hotelier listening that you hear hotels are facing right now in tech?
I would say that the complexity of the tech space.
Mm,
That this is probably the biggest barrier for them, because they don't even understand how to approach it because there's so many,
Right.
and you don't even like they don't even think in terms of categories. Like they know that they need the PMS and that's where it ends.
Right.
They don't understand, okay, do I really need an RMS? Do I really need a CRM? What does a CRM do? Like there's not enough education in our industry about like the functions of different types of software and even what types of software exist, because majority of them don't know that there is such thing as an upsell software or a marketing
Yeah.
technology solution. They know the basics about, okay, probably PMS, RMS, and the booking engine and the channel manager. They understand like distribution is a necessary component, is a must-have. But there are many that adoption rates are in 20-25% range,
Yeah.
which are not well known. So they don't really know where to start. So that's probably the biggest issue right now. And then the next step is once they do understand that, okay, these are all the different solutions that exist in these different categories and types, but then how do I pick a vendor? And this is where this kind of secret sauce is, and this is where the art is and the science together. you start from you don't start from looking at the vendor that is advertising and that is cool and good looking and that is everybody talks about. You start with building your use cases. So essentially I call it use cases because I'm a product manager in the past and built software. That's kind of how we call it. But you start with essentially describing how you run your business and what's important for you as a business. Like
Yeah.
example would be, I want a seamless check-in experience and it's going to be self check-in process. Like I don't have a front desk. So that would be an example of a use case. So then, and then you build these use cases for different aspects of your business, and then you find vendors that actually can match. So
Yeah.
again, the kind of correlation to what you guys are doing, the very
Hmm.
first screen, these are use cases, the list of
Yeah.
things that you ask them to list what's important for their business. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So you do that first, and then you match with the vendor that can support
Mm.
that, not the other way around. And
Yeah.
then, of course, you have to take into account. You can't just pick any vendor from each category. You have to consider the integration dependency. So it's like a three-step process, which again doesn't make their lives easy. It's just like it's complex. So
It,
that's the big barrier.
well, and what you're saying resonates. I had a phone call, a conversation. It's been a few months ago with a hotel group, smaller luxury, awesome group. And I mean, they expressed that a reason they were now back to the drawing board with their tech stack was because they had to rush through it initially 12 months prior because they
Yeah,
were so busy. And you would think with their budget, the budget wasn't an issue. Not, it was time. It was, we don't have time to necessarily educate ourselves on, and some of their leadership came from outside of the industry. So
yeah,
I think it's very important. Like what you're saying, it does take some time to get
hmm,
there, but it's a heck of a lot better than being back at the drawing board 12 months later because what you initially chose based on marketing didn't pan out for
yeah.
you. So
We see it all the time. That's a very good point. We see it all the time where, again, because they start from the PMS normally, they just pick, whatever is, on the in the news currently, and then end up in a situation when it can't support those, like I said, those integrations that are crucial for their business.
right,
So
right,
I mean, you can probably quickly replace a solution that only covers like a tiny aspect of your operations. But if you have to replace the PMS, the core, that's like moving into a new house. That's stressful. So that is, painful. That's why, again, my biggest main advice to hoteliers would be start with picking the solutions that are important outside of the PMS,
mm,
and then
yeah,
find the PMS that can support that. And
yeah,
yes, do take your time. I mean, it's not supposed to take that long, but again, installing a Facebook app, this is our goal. But right now, the sales cycles are long, and you go to a conference, you speak to vendors at their booth, you do demos with them, and then you go through an integration process, and all the mapping of data. It might take months,
yeah,
but again, it's worth it. I would say that if you're replacing a PMS, if it's just one piece of the tech stack, depending on the size of your company, if you're, just one hotel, then of course it's much. faster, but it could take up to 2 years for companies like Hilton or Marriott, or even 3 years even. It happens not very often, but it does happen, and it does take too long in our industry, unfortunately. So that would be another issue. I would say the sales cycles are
Yeah.
like winter in Siberia. It's like long, very long.
And what do you think, if I'm a vendor listening right now, would you recommend sales cycle shortening? Is that really in their control, or is it really because the
Yeah.
hotelier has so much due diligence? I mean, what about vendors? What would you say for them and their challenges?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would be happy to make them shorter, but it's just the nature of the beast. And that's why this marketplace concept will be a revolution in our industry, because it's going to shrink sales cycle to nothing. And again, it should be just as installing an app from your app, from your marketplace on the app store on the phone. But the reason because the sales cycles are long is
Yeah.
because of the lack of those seamless integrations that allow for this click of a button automated sign up, where
Mm,
you get 30-day free trial. You get to try it, and then if you don't like it, you can cancel it. It's not how it works right now, unfortunately, because these integrations are not in place. Because you can't just try it and see if you like it. You have to go and learn about it. You have to like do a demo. You have to understand how it works, whether it targets your use cases, and then you go through the integration process. And you can't really, like, if it's an RMS system, if you don't try it, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, because you
yeah.
can't really see
Yeah.
how the algorithm behaves, because you don't have feed your data yet. They can
Mm,
show you wonderful charts how it raises your RevPAR by 20%, but until you actually run it on your data, so you don't know what you're getting yourself into. And then you sign up 3-year contract just to discover that it doesn't work for you, for your type of property, for example. And that's
mm,
painful. So I
mm.
think that's not in the hands of the hoteliers. It's not in the hands of vendors per se, but that's due to the lack of seamless integrations that are, unfortunately, right now. That's our reality. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is because there's so many PMS companies
Yeah.
that just don't allow for seamless integrations. The new ones, modern PMS companies, without again mentioning any names, but they have solved for that. And those are the ones that are going to survive, and they're growing
Mm,
and making hoteliers' lives easy. And those
yeah.
are the ones that are going to be, the top 20, 30 in the next, 5, 10 years down the road, which will consolidate our marketplace significantly. But until that
Yeah.
happens, we still have to struggle.
We got to struggle. Well, and I think this leads perfectly into a question from one of our audience today. So I'd be interested to hear how Ira sees all of these acquisitions, pros, cons. Is the one-stop shop the
Oh,
best way? I'm curious about
love
the
it.
one-stop shop, very much so, because you hear about that a lot. So what do you think? And I think
Love the
Stephanie, my
question.
co-founder, is going to love this question.
Yeah,
So let's.
I get that. I get that, but I love it. Thank you, whoever asked it. I love this question. It's a very interesting question, and I've dwelled on it a lot myself. So the thing is, because our industry is fragmented, and because there are different segments in our industry, and because there are different types of businesses and different sizes of businesses, the answer is not yes or no. One stop shop, best or not. Like, it's not a straightforward answer. The answer would be it all depends on the type of business that you're running and what segment you represent as a company. So, for example, I have to mention a name because there's really the only vendor in our industry, Cloudbeds. I used to
Yeah.
work for them, great company. They sit very firmly in that independent segment, the long tail of hospitality, where that we refer to as, which they're moving into others, expanding into other segments, but this started from there. And because it's a one-stop shop solution, and they offer the PMS, a booking engine, or RMS, and channel manager, and this and that, they have maybe, like, I don't know, 15 different products, which works great for this segment. So for hoteliers who don't want to get into the weeds of, oh, I picked this PMS and this booking engine, what is a booking engine, oh, I need a channel manager, oh, it's RMS is a separate like they don't want to deal with that. They want one login, one bill. That's the
Mm,
holy grail of their
yep.
business. Give me one login, one bill. Cloudbest does that for them amazingly well. That's why they've been rapidly expanding
Mhm.
to, some wonderful numbers as of, I don't know what their customer base right now is, but unprecedented growth.
Right.
But in, for example, the mid market, where we have companies like, I don't know, Citizen M, for example, Sonder, one of my favorite clients and one of my favorite hotel companies, they are unique. They're all very unique in the way that they run business. So for
Mm,
them, it's never going to work. For them,
yeah.
signing up for something that's going to have like an off the shelf PMS, CRS, customer guest app, RMS, and this and that, never. They're
Mm,
gonna pick best of breed from different vendors, because they're gonna put this whole list of use cases for each aspect of their business. And
right.
this is kind of the majority of consulting engagements that I've had with those companies, where we sit down and we understand, okay, this is how you run operations and this is what you need. And then we go and look and match them with the vendors that then would integrate into the PMS that they are running currently. um, and every customer that I have consulted from that segment, from mid-market, is unique. Like, and
Right.
that's why they have to have very different elements. Like, it's never going to be an end-to-end solution that they would choose. And then the third segment is the branded, the whole different animal, where we have the franchise companies. Like,
Mm,
that is not, I'm not even going to start talking about it, because it's there's politics and policies and regulations and whatnot. So don't even go there as a vendor. And it's never going to be an end-to-end one-stop shop catering to them. They have their whole thing that they're dealing with. So the answer would be yes, depending on the segment, and mostly one-stop shop is good for the independent operator. The good
right.
news is, according to the latest data, that's 80% of our industry. 80% of hoteliers, of hotel-like properties in the world, are represented by these guys.
Yeah.
So that's about 1 million properties out there in the
That's
world.
staggering number, and growing, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
growing all the time.
moms and pops, smaller properties, medium-sized properties,
Yeah.
one-off companies, 3 properties per company, 5, 10. They're
Mm,
everywhere, and that adds to the fragmentation on the buyer side, the buyer of technology side, the hotelier, the
yeah.
operator.
Yeah. Well, and now we all see why you wrote a book about this because there's so much. There's so much. And I don't even think we could begin to scratch the surface in 30 minutes. But what I would love to do is hear. So we might even do maybe a second session someday to go deeper. But for those listening, and of course, watching later on our YouTube, where can we find your books? Because this is so
Hmm,
incredibly interesting. We would love
right.
to make sure that our viewers know where can they get their hands on this book, both books, and learn more on their own.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, if you Google it, you'll see it. Also on my website, iravouk.com, on my LinkedIn page, but anywhere in the world, it should be available. It's available in 3 formats. All of my books are actually, this is number 5, but the latest 2, I would say, are the most relevant for this specific topic. Anywhere in the world in 3 formats, which is print, audiobook, and an ebook. So whatever you prefer, if you want to listen to it on the way from San Diego to Los Angeles, or anywhere, in Bali or Singapore or Mexico, you'll be able to do that. And it's, I would say, a pretty light read, because my style is not scientific. It's fun read, but there's a
Mm,
lot of knowledge behind it, and I've been getting very, very good reviews about the last 2 books.
I love it. Well, actually, Affixify would like to purchase one of each of your books for one of our viewers today. So after this, for anyone that has attended, we will look at the attendee list and we will personally purchase one of our viewers one of each of Ira's books. So we will do some sort of random selection. I don't know how yet, but we'll be in touch with one lucky viewer and we ourselves can't wait to read these. So thank you. If there's one piece of advice that you could give our hoteliers watching today and our vendors that might be just really afraid of what's coming for our industry and technology, what's one word of encouragement you might leave us with today? I didn't plan this, so I'm
Yeah.
putting you on the spot a
No,
little
no,
bit.
that's a great one. I would say be open-minded. That's important for our industry. And I would say that this notion of high tech not going well with high touch, that's
Yeah.
bullshit. It's just the opposite. It actually
Yeah.
helps it a lot. And your high tech part of your business is going to help you provide better customer service, in addition to being more profitable, more efficient, more effective as a business, but it actually aids in customer service. So you can deliver better high touch if you are high tech, if you are open to adopting modern technology. And for vendors, I would say don't stay behind, invest in developing your tools, because there's so many vendors that are way behind the evolution of technology in our industry. Unfortunately, many legacy vendors, and there's some great examples of legacy companies investing in modern tech and cloud solutions, in implementing AI, but a big chunk they do not implement
Yeah.
that. They do not invest, and they're gonna die. I mean, that's the reality. You don't
Yeah.
stay modern, you don't stay up to date on the evolution, you die, and
Yeah.
that's the nature
It's just the
of
reality.
evolution.
Yeah. Well, I have learned so much. I know our viewers have too. Thank you for your time. And we are so thrilled to have you. So, for those watching, we will have this episode on our LinkedIn page and then soon on our YouTube channel that's actually formally launching March 1st. And we will be in touch with the lucky winner of Ira's books. And Ira, thank you so much. This was
Thank you for
wonderful.
having me. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thanks.
Yes, and we'll be back next week with industry expert Jody Jacobson to talk a little bit about implementing tech correctly once you've made your decision. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.